Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be with you in Loughbrickland tonight, and thank you for coming. I just want to say one thing to John. If he has raised the ire of Martina Anderson, he's off to a very good start. Wear it as a badge of honour. It's a badge I award many times, and I never got tired of wearing it when you annoyed Martina Anderson in Stormont. It was worth doing just to see it. So, ladies and gentlemen, no unionist should be in any doubt about the threat of the protocol to the union to which we belong. Now, what is the union of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland? Well, it's two things. It's an economic union and it's a political union. And the basis of the economic union is Article 6 of the Acts of Union, which were passed in the year 1800. And what Article 6 says as the basis for the union of what is now Great Britain and Northern Ireland is that there shall be parity and unfettered trade between and within all parts of the United Kingdom. That all will have the same opportunities in terms of buying and selling, no matter in which part of the kingdom you live. And that was the historic basis of the economic side of the Act of Union. And of course, the protocol totally shreds that, because it has produced a situation where we do not have the same rights when it comes to buying and selling, whereby we do not have the same parity of trade and opportunity. And the reason for that is that this part of the United Kingdom, and this part alone, has been left subject to a foreign single market for goods, a foreign customs code, a foreign VAT regime, all overseen by foreign laws we don't make and can't change, and those adjudicated upon by a foreign court. And of course, the foreign laws, the foreign single market, the foreign customs code, the foreign court are those of the European Union. And that has been done under the protocol. Make no mistake about it, the protocol is not Brexit. The protocol is the denial of Brexit. Because the whole purpose and process of Brexit was to take back control, to leave the EU single market, to leave the EU customs code, and to go our own way in terms of trade. And that happened for everyone else except Northern Ireland. We were annexed out into the EU and left behind where we were in the European Union. That then, of course, because we're subject to foreign jurisdiction, foreign sovereignty, foreign laws, means that we now have a border in the Irish Sea. And on this side of that border, everyone on the island of Ireland is regarded economically as within the EU, operating their laws and their rules as far as their economy is concerned. And everyone on the other side in GB is regarded as being exclusively and properly within the UK's single market and the UK's customs code. And of course, there are political consequences to that, because the whole purpose and idea of the protocol was to create the circumstances in which an all-island politically could evolve. And how do you do that? By first of all creating the circumstances of an all-Ireland economically. Look at the EU itself. It's now a massive political union. It didn't start out like that. How did it start? It started as a common market. But the ambition was always clear. It was in the original Treaty of Rome. The purpose of everything was to obtain ever closer union. How did they obtain ever closer union for the EU? Through economic union, through a single market for all member states, through removing customs barriers, creating one big economy. And of course, to that then they bolted on the political apparatus. They then needed a president. They needed a parliament. They needed the civil service. That is how you got to what you have today, the political entity, by the route of economic unity. It is the same template that is being applied to obtain an all-Ireland. By creating an all-Ireland economically, they know and they recognise that it is ultimately a short step from that to political union. That's the purpose. It's not an economic purpose. It's a political purpose of the protocol. And that is why no unions, no matter how weak and pathetic, if they have any understanding at all of what it is to be in the union, should be bending every sinew to uproot and upset and remove this protocol. Because if we do not kill the protocol, it will kill the union. Make no mistake about it. That is why the protocol is so iniquitous, so toxic, and so dangerous. And we're now in a situation where 2/3 of the laws that shape our economy are made not in Belfast, not in London, but in Brussels. And they're made by those we don't elect. They're made in a manner where we have no input. And they're made and imposed upon us laws that we cannot change. That is a tyranny. And our function in opposing the protocol is a cause of liberation. We need to be liberated from the tyranny of the EU. We need to have restored to us basic democratic principles. The Americans, when they were fighting their war of independence, said no taxation without representation. Well, that's where we are. We have no representation. Not that we want it. I can tell you I was there 5 years, you don't want it. But it's the principle that laws are being made without any input, any right to change, or anything else. in respect of those upon whom they are being put. So no one should be under any illusion about the iniquity of this protocol. This protocol is not just about economics. Yes, it is having dire economic consequences, and we're only now in the shallows of the protocol. When the grace periods end, you're in the deep water of the protocol. But even in the shallows of the protocol, there are economic inhibitions in terms of what you can bring in, where you can bring it in, etc. And of course, it's already beginning to have its practical effect. There are now many suppliers in GB saying, it's not worth the candle. It's too much bother. There's far too much paperwork. We're not going to bother supplying Northern Ireland. And what does that do? That delivers the purpose of reorientating Northern Ireland's economy away from looking to London to looking to Dublin. And business, of course, will follow the easiest course. And therefore the agenda is make it easy to trade with Dublin and hard to trade with Britain. And then business will build its links north-south. And when we get the business built north-south, the politics will follow. That indisputably, ladies and gentlemen, is the template. I said to you a moment ago, bad as those economic, financial, day-to-day consequences are, they are not the most important thing. The most important thing is what I've already talked to you about. The constitutional change. The sovereignty issue. So when you create a circumstance where part of your own country is subject to the laws of a foreign jurisdiction, then you have transferred sovereignty. A transfer of sovereignty is constitutional change. It's happening under the protocol. So faced with that, what should unionism do? Well, let me tell you what it shouldn't do. It shouldn't aid and abet the process. It shouldn't build the border posts. It shouldn't implement the checks. And of course, by reason of implementing the checks, through Mr. Putz's department, we keep the protocol alive. If there were no checks being implemented, the protocol becomes a dead letter. But by implementing the protocol, by overseeing the checks, Mr. Putz's department has 137 staff, day and daily, implementing the EU's bidding, implementing foreign laws, implementing checks on you trading with your partners in Great Britain. Is Brussels, is London ever going to take us seriously if they look across and say, well, they're doing a lot of shouting, they're implementing it. It's not words that matter here, it's actions. And it's the actions which are betraying our situation. The actions of implementing. I heard Jeffrey say, oh, if there's any more new checks, we'll not implement them. Well, let's think about that. Why would you not implement them? Because they're wrong. Well, if they're wrong, what about the present checks? Aren't they wrong? So why are you implementing them? So how do we get rid of it? Well, they say that, I said many months ago that we had to bring the man who put this protocol upon us to the point where he had a choice to make. Did he want to save the protocol, or did he want to save the Stormont institutions? Because he can't have both. And I'm flattered that I read those very words falling from the lips of Sir Geoffrey Donaldson. I never knew I was so influential. There you go. But it's right. We have to bring the Prime Minister to the point where it is a clear, sharp choice to make. Do you want to save the protocol, or do you want to save the Stormont institutions? And the reason that choice has to be forced upon him is this: that by implementing the protocol through Stormont, we're putting ourselves in an unsustainable position. Let me put it to you another way. If the price of Stormont is now become the implementation of our own destruction through the protocol, then it's a price no unionist should be paying. Bad enough that the price of this Stormont has been the IRA and government. But if you then compound that by saying, to be a unionist minister in Stormont, you must implement your own self-destruction. What sort of self-respecting person with any sense, any backbone, would ever do that? That is why we have to bring the man who put it upon us, the Prime Minister, to the point of choosing. By refusing to implement it in Stormont, then he's forced to choose. Do I want to save the protocol, or do I want to save Stormont? That's the choice he has to be forced to make. And it's not a choice to be equivocated over. It's not a choice to be made all mushy and indistinct. It's a choice that is clear, crystal clear, distinct. That is why that strategy has to go forward. But that strategy is being held back by the folly of still implementing the protocol. If we're serious, then let's get on with it. Let's do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, TV has always been very clear that if this protocol stays, this union is over. I'm not going to kid you. The axe has already been laid to Article 6, the foundation of the economic union. The axe to the political union will follow inevitably, because one is interdependent with the other. And that is why when we think and hear about the protocol, let's never think, oh, it's only about goods coming in. It doesn't affect me. I don't drive for Tesco's. I can still get my groceries. It affects you right down to the fact of your own citizenship. Yeah. Because the laws that govern you are now made in a foreign jurisdiction. Let's pause for a moment and think. If the border had been put where it should have been, at the international frontier, and if we'd had a Sinn Féin agriculture minister, would he or she have built the border posts? Would he or she have sent out their staff to conduct the checks on the border? I don't have to answer that question. It's abundantly clear. And yet the fact that a unionist minister built the puts posts, implements it, is not lost on London or Dublin or Brussels. So unless and until unionism asserts with certainty the stand that it's determined to take, not in words, but in action, then we are heading in the wrong way. I don't know if we're headed for an election. If we are, we'll be ready. And I will say very, very plainly to the people of Northern Ireland, you get what you vote for. And if you want more of the same, don't even think of voting TUV. If you want more of the same shambles, the same scandals, the same waste, the same IRA and government arrangements at Stormont, then TUV is not for you. You vote for the parties that are giving you that. But if you've had enough, if you've reached the point where enough is enough, then TUV is for you. TUV is the real deal on these issues. Let me be very, very clear. If I and TUV were done the honour of returning to Stormont in strength, this system is over. This system of mandatory coalition, where you can't have a government unless you've the IRA Sinn Féin at the top and the heart of it, it'll be over. Because if it fell to us, we wouldn't be nominating to prop up that system. Let's be very clear. I hear much talk, and you will hear an avalanche of talk about stopping a Sinn Féin First Minister. Two things about that. We already have a Sinn Féin First Minister. It's a joint office. The First Minister can't even sign a letter without the Deputy First Minister signing, and vice versa. Who you call First Minister and who you call Deputy doesn't make a whit of difference in terms of their powers. Neither of them has powers without the other. It's a joint office, joined at the hip. So if it came around, you'll hear much talk about there being the threat of a Sinn Féin First Minister. There's a very simple and compelling and irrefutable answer to that. And it's based on the fact that if Sinn Féin were the biggest party, they can only ever be First Minister if they find some stooge of a unionist party to nominate a deputy. That's going to be the challenge to those who raise that scare. Well, let's say it was coming about to happen. Would you, Sir Geoffrey, would you, Mr. Beattie, nominate a Deputy First Minister? Because if you would, then you will be putting Sinn Féin in as First Minister. Or will you join with TUV in saying, we will never nominate a Deputy First Minister, and thereby we will make sure there never can be a Sinn Féin First Minister? If unionists are serious about it, there's the answer to that threat. And when people come knocking on your door and start telling you, you must vote for us to keep Sinn Féin out, just ask them a question. Well, if Sinn Féin should be the biggest party, will you let them be First Minister by nominating a deputy? You'll not get an answer. I can guarantee you now. But that's the question to be asked. Let's be very clear. TUV should be the biggest unionist party. There will not be a Sinn Féin First Minister. I can guarantee you. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The protocol is the primary, overriding, abiding, defining issue of our generation. Down through the years, we've talked about threat to our constitutional position. I want to tell you it's no longer a threat, it's a reality. Our constitutional position has been changed by the protocol for the purposes of manoeuvring us out of our birthright within the United Kingdom. And therefore it beholds everyone who cares about that union to do all they can to thwart and abort this protocol. If you're up for that, if you're in tune with what you're hearing here tonight, then don't just go home and say, good meeting, good speeches, never the word, never the word. Do something about it. And there's something you can do about it. Is join the unionists fight back by joining TUV.
Yeah.
If you're inclined to do that, please do it. You'd be welcome. And let's together tackle this task. Have you ever looked at a rope, ladies and gentlemen? It's mighty strong. Start deconstructing the rope. And unravel it. And it comes down to the finest little threads, each one of which easily snapped apart, wound and wound together, unbreakable. That's what I want to be to you. Will you be a thread? Thank you very much.